This video is sponsored by and available on ProtoPlay, an alternative video hosting platform focusing on creative freedom for both content creators and viewers alike. Check it out with the link in the description below, or feel free to grab the app found on Apple and Android devices. What's good, everybody, and welcome back to our latest episode of Combat Tips. Today's episode is going to be featuring the dual-wielding daughter of the Cage family, Cassie. If there's anything in particular you're here to learn today, feel free to hop on down below to either the description, the timeline, or the comment section where you can find timestamps that will let you skip to anything I feature in today's video. And of course, should any of the inputs I use today not entirely make sense to your particular council, feel free to use this translation guide right here, and that will allow you to take whatever I say in today's video and convert it onto any council or platform currently hosting Mortal Kombat 11. It should be no surprise that we're starting off on the customization screen today, and that is of course to show you guys that as of this video's release date, I have all 25 out of 25 finishers for Cassie Cage, which means today's video is going to be featuring 11 different brutalities. Of course, we're going to get started with the Classic today, but again, if there's anything in particular you're here to learn today, hop on down to the timestamps below, and they'll of course get you where you gotta go. The Classic, folks, definitely one I've seen time and time again. Let's hop right into it. First off, you want to make sure that you do not block an attack during the final round. And to clarify, the final round for you as a player is either going to be rounds 2 or 3, just whichever one you are going to be victorious on. Next up, you want to make sure you finish your opponent with an uppercut, and during that uppercut you need to hold either Y or triangle on your respective controller. So of course, an uppercut, very easy folks, down Y or down triangle, and as you can see, there it is. Now, something I always just like to clarify for this particular brutality, as you can see I'm on round 2 up here, this is going to be my victorious round, but again, boom, you can hit the block button by accident, and I only mention it because sometimes I do it by reflex. So if you happen to hit the block button by accident and don't take damage, it's okay. You will not forfeit this brutality. So let's end this, folks. Remember, you do not want to block any attacks during your final round, aka your victorious round. It's okay if you accidentally hit the block button, just make sure you don't take any damage. And then last but certainly not least, finish your opponent with an uppercut and then hold Y or triangle on your respective controller while doing it. Let's go for it. Oh. There we have it, folks. Just as classic as you'd expect. Next up is the Make It Pop brutality. Now this one's going to ask that you do not lose a single round at all during the match. Should you lose a round, unfortunately, you will not be able to perform this brutality. Next up, you want to make sure that your final hit comes from a towards throw on the opponent, and while that's happening, hold forward as well on your controller. Let's go for it. So a towards throw, folks, very simple. All you gotta do, as you can see, is move towards the opponent and tap L1 or left button, and you should get your towards throw. And of course, the same can be said about the arcade style inputs, square and X, or X and A at the same time. As you can see, as long as you're moving towards your opponent, you'll get that towards throw. So let's wrap this one up, folks. Remember, you must not lose a single round, so essentially you have to win by round 2 to get this brutality to work. As you can see, that's not going to be a problem. And then last, but certainly not least, finish your opponent with a towards throw and hold forward while that's happening. Let's go for it, folks. Adios. Oh. Oof. Next up, we have the Boom brutality. Now this one's going to require that you connect at least 3 throws during the match at any point, but you just have to make sure you grab your opponent at least 3 times. And then last but certainly not least, you want to finish your opponent with a back throw and hold either left button or L1 during that animation. So for a back throw, very simple. All you got to do is tap L1 or left button without any directional inputs, and as you can see, boom, got your back throw. Once again, same goes for the arcade style inputs, square and X or X and A at the same time, and boom, no direction needed, you'll get your back throw. Just for the sake of clarification, let's make sure we get our 3 throws displayed on camera here. That is 1, here's 2, and of course, last but certainly not least, here's number 3. There's our 3 count. So remember for this one, everybody, that you want to connect at least 3 throws at any point during the match, and then finish your opponent with a back throw while holding L1 or left button. Let's go for it. Holding that button. About as swift as the throw is itself, but hey, I like it quick and to the point. So next up we have the Get Yo Ass Beat Brutality, and this one will require that you have the shoulder charge ability in your arsenal, so please do have that ready and we can move on. So this one's pretty straightforward. All you got to do is finish your opponent with an amplified shoulder charge, and while that animation's happening, you're going to want to mash X and Y or square and triangle. So the normal shoulder charge is going to be back forward Y or back forward triangle, and it should look pop, just like that. Now, of course, after that shoulder charge hits the opponent, we're going to want to tap R1 or right button to enhance it, and as you can see, that's the animation we're looking for when it comes to this brutality. A tiny tip I like to offer to folks when it comes to mashing square and triangle or X and Y rapidly is simply that if moving your thumb back and forth like this is just not doing it for you, what I do often is just slide my hand right around like this and take my pointer in middle and boom. Just beat them both like that rapidly. Always helps me guarantee brutalities like this work. Not required, but it could help some of you. So let's beat down this bug, folks. Remember, all you got to do is finish your opponent with that amplified shoulder charge and then mash either square and triangle or X and Y as rapidly as you can. Let's go for it. Mashing those buttons. Oh. Ooh. I really like this one. It's really cool. I just love the idea of getting in there and beating the heck out of your opponent like she just did. Also, there's a slight variation you can add to the end of this, so stay tuned and I'll show you how to do that right now. So for the alternate variation, we're going to be doing everything the same. Finish them with the amplified shoulder charge, then mash your respective X and Y or square and triangle. But after the screen darkens and the brutality begins, if you want the alternative variation, you can hold L2 down an X or left trigger down an A on your respective controller, and I'll show you right now what that alternative should look like. So we're gonna mash, and now we're holding our respective buttons.
Game over.
Oh. And as you can see, you can pull out her little sidearm and get rid of whatever was already left of that poor skull. Awesome. So next up is the Holy Moly Brutality. Now this one's going to require that you have more than 50% of your HP remaining if you decide to go and perform it. And then last, but certainly not least, you have to make sure that the final hit comes from the one in the chamber combo. So the one in the chamber combo is going to be forward B and then X and Y, or forward circle and then square and triangle. And it should look very simply like that. So remember, folks, for this one you're going to want to be above 50% of your HP. Obviously, for demonstrational purposes, that isn't a problem. Make sure you note this notch right here. That is usually where the 50% notch is. If you see yourself above that, you're good to go. And last but not least, you can go ahead and finish your opponent with that one in the chamber combo. Let's go for it. Straight to it. One in the chamber and one in the chest now. Jeez. So next up is the Totes Ewww Brutality. Now this move does require that you use any drone move you have at least 5 times throughout the match. It can be a combination of a couple drone moves or the singular one drone move you want to use 5 times. So long as the drone is involved, you can use whatever you like. Personally, as a recommendation, I just like the flying glow kick, but again, as long as the drone is involved, use what you like. Last but certainly not least, you want to make sure that the final hit itself comes from the backhand basic attack. Easy. So let's start off with the basic backhand attack. It is literally forward Y or forward triangle. Very simple, and it should look just like that. So remember, you do have to use at least 5 drone moves at any point through the match. I, again, as I suggested, like the flying glow kick, and that's back forward A or back forward X if you have it on your character's variation. And it should look, boom, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, and last but not least, there's 5. So let's end this, folks. Remember, you just have to use 5 drone moves at any point throughout the match. It can be the same one or a combination of a couple, as long as you do 5 total. And then last but certainly not least, finish your opponent with that backhand. Let's go for it. Oof. Oh. That's one of those rough ones where you can just hear the muscle and the tendons tearing and ripping. Ooh, it makes me shake. But once again, we actually have a different variation we can do for one of these brutalities, so stay tuned and I'll show you how to do that again right now. So for this variation, we're going to finish our opponent the exact same way, 5 drone moves at any point throughout the match, and then the backhand. But after the screen darkens and of course the drone moves in to grab your opponent, you're going to want to hold L2, R2, and down, or left trigger, right trigger, and down, of course, on your respective controller. Let's go for it, folks. Remember, just go for the backhand, and now we're holding back triggers and down. And as you can see, the head comes up. Oof. And plops right back down on the shoulder. Nice little touch. So next up we have the My Bad Brutality. Now this one's going to require that you hit your opponent with at least 3 ball busters at any point throughout the match, and then last but certainly not least, you have to finish them with an amplified ball buster. Alright, so the normal ones don't have to be amplified, but that finisher definitely does. So the basic ball buster is going to be back down A or back down X, and it should look oof, just like that, folks. Of course, for the clarification's sake, let's get all 3 of our ball busters on screen. So there's 1, oof, there's 2, and there's 3. Now, of course, to amplify this ability, just as the foot connects with the waist, you're going to want to tap R1 or right button, and as you can see, oh, double homicide. So that's all there is to this one, folks. Remember, just hit your opponent at any point throughout the fight with 3 ball busters, and then finish them with an amplified ball buster. Let's do it. And there we go, head off and blasted. But there's yet another variation to one of these brutalities, last one that I know of for Cassie, but I'll show it to you, of course, right now if you want to see it. So for the variation, folks, you're of course going to finish your opponent as normal, 3 ball busters and then an amplified ball buster. But just as the screen darkens, of course, you're going to want to hold back L2, R2, and X, or back, left trigger, right trigger, and A. Alright, so let's go for it. Again, finish your opponent with that amplified ball buster. And we're going to hold our respective combination. And boom. It's only a slight difference, but as you can see, the head does not get blown up in this case, so it's really up to you. Next up is the Damn I'm Good Brutality. So for this one, all you got to do is finish your opponent with the hot take combo, and while that animation's happening, make sure to hold up. So the hot take combo is going to be back X and then A, or back square and then X, and it should look oof, just like that. So simple enough, folks. Let's wrap this one up. Remember, all you got to do is finish your opponent with that hot take combo and hold up while you're doing it. Let's go for it.
You're dead.
Love it. The drone just picks it up and holds it like some sort of morbid platter. Very cool. I love it. Next up is the Got BLB'd Brutality. Now this one's going to require that you have the BLB 118 Energy Burst ability in your arsenal, so of course have that ready to go and we can move on. So for the criteria, you just got to make sure that at any point throughout the match you hit your opponent with at least 3 of those energy bursts, and then last but certainly not least, finish them with yet another energy burst. So the BLB energy burst is going to be down back B or down back circle, and as you can see, that's it. And of course, for the clarification of our requirement count, let's go for those 3. 1, 2, and 3, folks. So let's wrap this one up, folks. Remember, you want your BLB energy bursts to actually hit your opponent 3 times throughout the match at any point, and then last but certainly not least, finish them with yet another BLB energy burst. Let's go for it, folks. Oh. Oof. So So next up is the fully disarmed Brutality. Now this one asks a few things of us. First off, you must not be close to the opponent. If you ask me, give yourself at least a backdash or two away before attempting this Brutality. Next up, you want to make sure that your opponent is grounded when you go to hit them. This means they cannot be jumping up around in the air or even just hovering an inch above it, or it just simply will not work properly. Last, but certainly not least, you want to finish your opponent with the dual wielding ability, and while that's happening, hold X or square respectively. So of course, dual wielding is going to be back forward X or back forward square, and as you can see folks, pop. Now if you choose, you can hold square or X when using the dual wielding ability, and as you can see, you can charge it up, oof, and sometimes get a crushing blow. It is worth noting though that both the normal dual wielding and the charged variation of the dual wielding will work for this Brutality, assuming you don't get a crushing blow for your final hit. So let's disarm this foe, folks. Remember, you can't be too close to your opponent. I like to get 2 backdashes away. You want to make sure they're grounded, meaning standing on the actual floor, not jumping through the sky. And then last, but certainly not least, finish them with dual wielding while holding square or X respectfully. Let's go for it. As you can see, I used the charged variation and it does work just the same. Again, assuming you don't get a crushing blow, no problem. So our last Brutality for today, folks, is called Game Over. Now this one will require that you have the kneecapping ability in your arsenal, so of course, get that ready to go and we can move on. Now for the criteria, they ask that you are some distance away from the opponent when you go to perform this Brutality. If you ask me, some distance away is about 2 backdashes in distance. At least that seems to work very well for me when I need to gauge it quickly. Last but certainly not least, you're going to want to finish your opponent themselves, of course, with that kneecapping ability, and you're going to want to hold down and X or down and square on your respective controller during that final animation. Let's get into it. Now the kneecap in itself is going to be down back X or down back square, and as you can see, oof, right in the knee. Now for some distance away, folks, as I said, I like to do 2 backdashes, assuming I'm right up against the opponent. Back, 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 back. And there is my some distance away. Time to squash our final bug for today, folks. Remember, you want to be some distance away, which if you ask me is 2 backdashes. There's 1, there's 2. And you want to finish your opponent with that kneecapping ability, and while it's happening, hold down an X or down and square. Let's go for it.
Hashtag, you're dead.
Surely the kneecap is lost now. I'm surprised they didn't go with both legs. It would have been a little wilder, but hey, that's alright. So there we have it, folks. Cassie Cage is now good to go in our Brutality tutorial collection. She was a lot of fun to work with because she's a very hands-on brawler type character, and I think that's what I enjoyed about her in MKX as well. It kind of got me into her. Just that hands-on style with any character really is what I enjoy. Nightwolf, Rambo, stuff like that. It's always a blast when I can get right up in my opponent's face and just beat them down. As you likely noticed at the start of this tutorial, folks, this video is sponsored by ProtoPlay, so if you want to help support my channel, their company, and my future videos, feel free to check out the link down below. That'll take you to my ProtoPlay channel. It's really just a great place where I can save and archive all of these videos, and it costs nothing but a little bit of your time just to check them out. So thank you very much. If you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to reflect that down below, either in the form of a like or a comment. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can find out exactly when more content like this is gonna go live. So there we have it, folks. Thank you so much for watching the video today. That is gonna wrap it up. I'm not sure who we're gonna be doing next. Maybe a DLC character of sorts, if I had to hypothesize at least, but we'll see how it comes. Hopefully we will see you on the next video, and until then, remember, please stay safe and stay happy, everybody. Adios.